The Chicago Bears defense had a monster offseason, no pun intended, bringing in guys like Tremaine Edmunds, TJ Edwards, Yannick Ngakoue, and plenty more. We are pumped for this defense this upcoming season. But hello, everyone. Welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. I am joined alongside two special guests tonight, Will Wright and Herb Howard. And today we are going to break down the 2023 Chicago Bears defense. And we were having a little bit of fun beforehand, chopping up about Chris Jones. So we're going to get into that trade subject. I know Herb's already laughing because second we got into the room, we were already chopping it up with Will. So guys, welcome to the show. Herb, excited to have you on the show. Will's been on the show a few times, but excited to have you on.
No, it's my pleasure. So glad to be on. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to chopping it up about this defense.
And let's just start things off. Let's just get it going. Herb, before we talk about the 2023 Chicago Bears, who is your favorite defensive player of all time in Chicago Bears history and why?
Oh, that's very tough. So I guess the real answer in my lifetime would be Brian Urlacher, right? That's the easy choice. But my favorite player is I see the Lack jersey up there, well deserved. Like the man was a problem. Like, you know what I mean? And that, like, it's so good to have Tremaine Edmunds and to have a similar frame and that type of skill set to be, 6'4", 6'5", have the ability to get 30, 40 yards down the deep middle of that cover too. That's crazy. Urlacher was one of a kind. But my favorite player, if I'm being honest, was Mike Brown. Like Mike Brown,
yes,
like he was something else, man. If that dude was a little bigger or his body just held up a little longer, we talking about a Hall of Fame safety. That dude was nasty. A nose for the ball, turnover machine, came down and run support, would stick you with no problem, but also could cover on the back end. You could leave him single high, deep middle, like he can get sideline to sideline. Mike Brown was everything that you wanted in the free safety. He was a Chicago Bear. Just the way he played the game, he was probably my favorite defensive player, although Lack, no doubt, was the best.
100%. I love when you said Mike Brown, my heart just got going. Clearly you saw from the reaction, but that guy was an absolute problem on the field. Will, who is your favorite and why?
Well, I'm a little older than y'all guys, so I got to go back into like the 80s. So I rocked growing up watching Singletary. I was like 10, 11 years old. Singletary inspired me at 10 years old, Pee Wee football to play middle linebacker. And
I'm a ride.
Just to see how Mike, like the samurai, like he was a monster in the middle. He didn't miss nothing. And he kind of like glorified a lot of us that were undersized playing football who told that you couldn't be successful and make it. And you go out there with hard drive and determination and passion. And he basically, all the naysayers and the doubters, he showed that at the end of the day, guess what? I'm here. You know what I'm saying? And he made his presence felt in the middle of that defense. So, growing up seeing Mike Singletary, then like you said, transitioning to 2000 to Urlacher, that was a phenomenal time in the great era of linebackers for our beloved Chicago Bears.
So hear me out, fellas. This one's a little different. Will, I know you're going to like this one. Herb, this one might. So just a little bit about me. I used to play defensive tackle when I played football way back when, before I became a corner and wide receiver. I was a short, fat kid. Then I had that one summer where I slimmed out. But I still eat like I'm a short, fat kid. And
I wish I could and still look like you, man, because
it's catching up on me. It's catching up on me.
I eat a grape and pop out. Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, I used to be able to, go out, eat whatever I wanted, do whatever I wanted, not gain a pound. The last 2 years, it's starting to catch up with me a little bit. But my guy that inspired me to be a defensive tackle was Tommy Harris. That guy was an absolute monster on the field. And, growing up, that's what, I was like, I want to be just like him, right out of college, he had an impact. And it was right at the time I started playing. So, we're all, it seemed to be into the guys up the middle. Shout out Peanut Tillman, Mike Brown. But man, if
you build a defense up the middle, man. You build a defense up the middle. If you got your defense up the middle, Tommy Harris, Mike Singletary, Mike Brown, Lack, you won't lose that. You know what I mean? You won't lose. How you gonna move the ball on that? So Tommy Harris, well deserved. Ain't no need to apologize or show any hesitation in saying Tommy Harris. That man was a problem, man. I wish he was healthy for the Super Bowl, for real.
And Nick noticed because Tommy like my little brother, so we're flying up there for the first game because that's alumni weekend. We flying up there, so Herb makes because Nick gonna be.
Oh, we gotta chop it up then for sure.
Yeah, you already know what I'm about to say. So we talk about that every day at nauseum. If Tommy would have been if he'd been healthy back in 2006, we'd have easily won the Super Bowl.
Come on, man.
Him and Tank Johnson was a problem.
That's a huge problem for anybody.
That was a problem.
And then you got Brown and Algulier on the outside.
Yeah.
I mean, that defense was crazy.
Alex Brown and Algulier on the outside. Come on, they were problems.
Alex Brown is one of my top 5 favorite college players of all time, man. When he was with the Gators, that number 13 with the Gators, man.
Right.
Like I love Alex Brown, man. One of my top 5 favorite college players. Probably him, LeVar Arrington, Peter Warwick, Sean Taylor, and
I was about to say, don't forget Sean Taylor now.
Nah, ain't no chance of forgetting Sean Taylor. Ooh. And then maybe somebody else. But they Alex Brown, man, dog.
Absolute dog. Yeah. Absolute dog. So let's talk about the current dogs because, the Chicago Bears went out and got a ton of defensive linemen in this draft. You got some rookies. Talk about Florida. You got Javon Dexter Sr. coming in, but then you also got some veterans. Herb, to kind of start this question off with you, out of all the defensive linemen that we brought in this last offseason, who are you most excited about?
Well, I mean, I think you gotta start with the last. Put the last should go first, right? You talk about Yannick Ngakoue. I think he's the only proven commodity on that defensive line. You talk about a guy who's obviously 8 sacks at least each of the first 7 years of his career. One of only 5 guys to ever do that, right? So everybody else, you kind of hope that they can kind of, peak and produce. Obviously, DeMarcus Walker had his career year last year. You talk about 7 sacks, but, you hope that he can continue on that trend. You hope that Travis Gibson, if he makes this roster, we can get into that in a minute, that he can kind of take the step forward that we hoped he would make last year. You talk about continuing to develop Dominique Robinson, some of those guys. But in terms of proving, Yannick is the only one. So you gotta start there and say that's the most intriguing. But I really like what I've seen from these 2 kids, man. Zach Pickens and Javon Dexter. I think so far they've shown signs of why the Bears drafted him, right? First of all, Javon Dexter, he's just huge. That's the first thing you notice about him when you see him. Like, this dude is just massive. And even the players talk about just how big and strong he is. He had a slow get off coming in, and part of it was about what they asked him to do at Florida. And to be honest with you, it was taking him too long for me to be like, yeah, get off the ball. I don't care what they actually do at Florida. Like, we actually do something else now. Ball snap, go, right? And in the past 2 weeks or so, he's gotten better. You can see it on tape. He's not always the last person off the ball. And so that's a good sign. And Zach Pickens has been making plays all summer. So I'm intrigued by both of those 2 dudes as they settle into, what their responsibilities are going to be. At first, they were kind of cross-training them at the 1 tech and the 3 tech. Now they seem to be settled in on Zach playing the 1, Javon playing the 3. And so hopefully they can get a little bit more comfortable and become contributors in the regular rotation on this defensive front.
So I had the chance to interview Javon a couple weeks ago. Right, Will saw it. That was actually how Will and I kind of connected, was after that interview. And one thing that he talked about especially was that at Florida, his freshman year, they played him the way he wanted to be played. Then a new defensive coordinator came in, and that's why he feels his draft stock dropped. He wasn't playing off the ball like he wanted to, so he had to get back in the groove of firing off. Now that he's doing it, 6'6", 310, and you're firing off the ball at all months. That's a problem. How do you block that? That you're bigger than your guards, you're bigger than anybody else, and you're faster than anybody. I'm excited about that guy too. I want to see what you guys are thinking, but I think that Andrew Billings was one of the biggest steals of free agency for the entire league. I mean, he's arguably one of the strongest guys. Mm-hmm. Sneaky great sign, because defensive tackle. I mean, you have, shout out Steve McMichael, 95 sacks as a defensive tackle. But, Andrew Billings, if he was a little bit faster last year, they said he would have had 8 sacks because he had so many quarterback hits. Will, I know you're pumped about Billings. I want to, I know you got a couple, Walker's your guy. We'll get into that in a second. But I'm pumped about Billings. I want to see what you guys think about that. But I like you said, Herb, sneaky signing.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, first and second down, excellent run stuff. If you go back and watch that Raiders tape, like he commanded a center and guard double team, and he still was getting that pressure to just stop the running back right in his steps.
In his tracks,
so,
yeah.
Last year, think about it. The reason why our defense was horrible is because we couldn't stop the run. Like, let's be honest.
No.
We were getting like when I say we were getting shredded last year, like and that's why I laugh right now when everybody is talking about Justin Fields 5-20. I'm like, bro, what y'all want Justin to do? Like, when you look at the resources he don't have. So when I'm looking at now, like, okay, offense, bam, I want us to score. But if we scoring 30 and giving up 31 and 35, it still defeats the purpose of what we're trying to build long term. So, like you said, the sneaky signing of Andrew, like, to me, and Tremaine Edmunds and TJ, those were phenomenal signings.
We'll get to those in a sec. But yeah,
you don't have that mountain of a man to keep those offensive linemen off your linebackers. Guess what? And the running back is meeting them 5, 7, 10 yards down the field like they was doing Roquan Smith last year. Like, that negates $100 million signing investment in 2 linebackers that are there to play the Briggs and Urlacher role. So, like, I love the signing of Andrew Billings because, do we want him to rush the passer and get some sacks? Of course. But first and foremost, if he can stop the run, then that's going to set the table on third down for Yannick and DeMarcus Walker and the rest of the guys to go in there and really eat.
Yeah, you got to earn the right to rush the passer. You know what I mean? Like, you got to stop the run and earn the right to rush the pass. You got to put guys in third and obvious situations. And then you can, like, ideally, you could take him off the field. Like, you know what I'm saying? Let him do his work on first and second down.
Right.
You kick DeMarcus Walker in, you bring another end out there. Like, ideally, you don't need him out there doing that. Use his leverage. He's going to eat up those 2 blockers. He's going to make sure you can't climb to that second level as a guard or a center. Get on those linebackers. Let them read and flow. And, you got to understand the game to really understand the value of a guy like Andrew Billings, right? So you some people going to grab the stat sheet at the end of the game and say, oh, he had 1 tackle. He didn't have no tackles. That's not his value. You got to watch the game to see his real value. How many plays does he make? Because you can make a lot of plays without making any tackles, and he's going to make a lot of plays for this defense.
Right.
And like you were saying too, he's going to tire out that interior. Like the exterior's already going to have their hands full with Yannick and Walker on the outside and then rotate them. But you're going to tire out the guards in the center with Billings and Jones. And then you throw in the young guys like Pickens and Dexter who are just too big to handle. Yeah. That is just a 1, 2, 3 punch every single time. And let's go to the next subject real quick, guys, about linebackers. We started to hit on it, and I think that's kind of where the bread and butter is. We were talking about, the great linebackers of the Chicago Bears, and I think we have a super good squad right now. You have Sanborn, you have Swell, you have Edmunds, and you have Edwards. And honestly, Poles cooking again, got Edwards and Edmunds for the same price as Roquan Smith and a draft pick that went out and got Javon Dexter Sr. So Herb. Overall, bringing in Tremaine Edmunds is going to be the leader of this defense, along with Eddie Jackson for this year at least. And then Edmunds is the next 4 years for sure. You hit on it earlier, but can you explain to everybody the importance of how much impact Tremaine Edmunds is going to have on this defense?
He's a multiplier, right? That's the best way to put it. He's a multiplier. He is going to make everybody else around him better. All the guys on the side of him, the guys behind him, and even the guys in front of him. His length is a problem for quarterbacks. His ability to shut down some of those passing windows. Those slant routes don't look as open. That window ain't as wide when you got this dude who's 6'4", 6'5", but he's got a 7-foot wingspan, and he can run, and he can move. And it's just that closes all of those windows. It makes everything a little bit tighter. He's going to be tipping balls. And when you get tip balls in the air around Eddie Jackson and Kyler Gordan and Jaquan Brisker, it's going to turn into turnovers. That's what's going to give the offense more opportunities to put more points on the board. Tremaine Edmunds, man, like that signing, you can't overstate how important and how valuable he's going to be to this defense. He's already come in being a leader. He's a great guy in terms of a locker room guy and a teammate. He's showing great leadership already. And him just being out there, again, it's going to make everybody else better.
Absolutely. And, I love what you're saying about him, the leadership part. That's what this team needed. And last year, a lot of young guys, Eddie Jackson can't come out and do it himself. An entirely new locker room. He gained the respect of the secondary. Brisker and Gordan look up to him tremendously. Our guy, Jack Sanborn, is last year, absolute problem, And Herb, love to hear your take on him too. But if he would have played all season and I did the breakdown, he would have had 130 plus tackles with what he averaged through the 8 games that he played. And he would have had 2 interceptions, except the ref during the Detroit game had other ideas to take it, but absolute trash. But, Will, this one's going to you, and Herb, I want to hear your thoughts too. But predictions for Sanborn, how many tackles are we looking at? Like, what is the impact of Sanborn going to be on this defense?
Well, honestly, I'm going to be honest, because we're going to run a lot of 4-2-5 with Gordan in it, because a lot of teams, everybody we pretty much playing going to run 3 wide receiver sets for the most part. But when he gets an opportunity to come in and play, he'll probably get, 10, 15 plays a game at strong side linebacker. So I can anticipate him getting, for the season, probably about 60, 70 tackles, because I'm going to be honest, for his lack of athleticism, he's very instinctual. He's very smart. He has a very football high IQ that you can't teach in the trenches. So he knows how to get to the spot and anticipate where the play is going so he can make that play. So, I'm thinking realistically, because it's not too many run-heavy teams that we'll be playing. But with the time with him on the field, if it is around 10 to 15 plays, I can see him getting about 5-6 tackles a game, so to speak, if we're in that alignment of a 4-3 pretty much throughout the game.
Sure. Herb, Will, I think that's dead on. I think his stats might not look as good, but his impact is going to be even greater, especially when he's in, like you're saying. Herb, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think, the amount of time he's going to be on the field is important. I think you talk about, these days you and Nichols 60, 65% of the time. So he on the field, 35% of the time, you know what I mean? So I think his opportunities will be limited, but I agree. He's very, very instinctive. And so he's one of those guys where, the 40 time and all that don't matter, right? He plays faster than he is because he knows what's about to happen. Mm-hmm. So he's already on his way there before he needs to be. That allows him to show up a little bit faster. He's able to kind of cut through the trash a little bit on screens and things like that. And so I really like what we saw from him last year. I'll say this though. The kid, Noah Sewell, has been balling all summer, man. Like
he's gonna be a problem, man.
Every time he gets an opportunity, he's balling. He had a pick in practice yesterday. Like he's always balling. That dude's got a nose for the football. He is also a guy who plays faster than this 40 because of his instincts, because of his ability to read, diagnose, and react. He arrives with evil intentions. Like he's not.
Yes.
He ain't playing when he show up. Like he mean business. And I like that kid, and he's a little bit more athletic than Jack. That's not to say that I think he'll, supplant Jack as strong, early, but every time he gets an opportunity, and Jack was working his way back from an injury, early on in camp, and the kid just keeps making plays. And so I think that whenever Jack is on the field, he's gonna be what he is. And that's a smart football player, a tough football player that can diagnose, read, and react. He's gonna make his share of plays. I don't know how often he's going to be on the field just because of the nature of the game right now and how much nickel is out there. Kyler Gordon's going to play, twice as much as Jack Sanborn's going to play. But when he's out there, he'll make plays. But also, just keep an eye on Noah Sewell. That kid, he looks good.
And I like Noah Sewell as well. I think that he could have been a second-round guy last year, but he stayed another year at Oregon, and his stats hurt him. Like we were saying, his stats hurt him, but his impact was greater on the game, and that's why we were able to get him in the 4th round. Absolute steal. So let's go back to guys who are tough, crazy, and have an impact on the game. We were talking about it before the show, but the rumors that are flying around that Chris Jones wants out of Kansas City. I will make my comments after you guys explain your guys' thoughts on it. But Will, let's kick it off to you to start. Do you want the Bears to bring Chris Jones into Chicago?
Absolutely. I in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Okay. What are you going to give up, though?
Doing an extension for 3 years, that we still have the flexibility. As far as draft capital, like I would probably say like a 2025, a 2024 third and a 2025 fifth. Like I'm not giving up no like super high capital for him. But you put him in the middle of that line, I'm telling you, it's a problem now. But it also allows the law firm to develop at the 1 technique and 3 technique, old Pickens and Gervon. That's what we call them the law firm. And it gives us an instant 15 sacks. Like if Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff see Chris Jones coming right in their lap, man, Eddie Jackson, man, our secondary is gonna feast. Only thing I'm worried about is Tyreek Stevenson catching the ball. If he catches the ball, he gonna get about 5-6 picks. But Chris Jones, he's 29, so we don't have to give him no crazy, 5-6 year deal, like 3-year extension, including this year, and we still got money earmarked to pay Justin for his, and you front load it now, so it don't affect that cap later. And guess what? We get 3 years of at least dominating the North, and let's be honest, the NFC right now is weak. You got after the Eagles, who you got? Okay, you gonna say the 49ers? You gonna say the Cowboys? No. Seriously, the 49ers, they trying to figure out who gonna be the quarterback. Brock Purdy and Sanborn. You scared of no? You scared of Dak in Dallas? I'm here in Dallas. No, they ready for Dak to go now. So at the end of the day, we got Justin on a team-friendly deal right now. If you add these pieces now where you structure it where it don't impact us later, I don't see why not. I'm going to be honest. We're not going to give up the farm for him. I'll say that. But at the end of the day, that will be a piece right there on defense. Like Herb said earlier about Tremaine Edmunds, because TJ Edwards is a tackling machine too. He had 157 last year. Sanborn and right, like that frees up those linebackers to do their thing in the intermediate, and it gives the safeties in the corners. Like if Jalen Johnson don't get about 5-6 picks this year with that type of addition, then guess what? He doesn't deserve an extension. I'm just being honest.
So, okay. So Will, I think you've made a very strong argument. I'm sure a lot of people would do a 3rd and 5th too for a generational type talent in Chris Jones. I mean, I would, if depending on the cap, I'd be a 3rd and 5th. Sure. I have my own reasoning after. So I'm going to let Herb go because Herb was on a roll earlier. And then I'll put in my comments, see what you guys think. And then hopefully we all come to a trade agreement because Ryan Poles definitely is going to watch this episode and he'll make it happen. So Herb, what are you thinking? What are you thinking for Chris Jones? Bring him. You don't. What are you giving up for him?
Yeah, I think that if you can get him at a price that you like, and that's what I like about Ryan Poles. I know for sure he's not going to pay a penny over what he wants to pay. He's shown us that time and time again, whether it's trying to re-sign guys like Roquan Smith or, dipping into the free agent pool when you're looking at, tackles like McGlinchey or whoever it may be. He's not going to overpay for anybody. So if the Bears do bring him in, it will be at a compensation price that Poles is comfortable with. So I think that, that gives me some comfort. Now, I would love to have him, right? There's no doubt about his talent and what he can do. He's a game wrecker in the middle of that defense. There's no doubt about it. I just don't want to overpay for him. That being said, I think it's probably unlikely that the Bears end up with Chris Jones. Obviously you got Ryan Poles and his ties to that front office. And so I think that if whatever issues he's having with that front office, Ryan Poles is going to get that perspective of it. He's going to get the front office perspective of what this issue is. And so I don't know that he dips back into it. I understand it's mostly just money, and I get how he feels about it. He's put a lot of skins on the wall for that franchise. He's like, it's time to pay me. That wouldn't be the Bears' issue, right? They would bring him in, obviously, with the intent to pay him. And so presumably that issue would be gone off the table. And so, listen, if the price is right, I will go ahead and pull the trigger on it. I just don't know what that price would be. And I don't know if the Chiefs will do that. The Chiefs have shown you, though, that they are also not going to cave into your demands. They had Tyreek Hill, last year. They're like, you can go wherever you want to go. Okay, we'll get you on up out of here too, and we'll still be the number 1 offense in the league, and we'll still win the Super Bowl. And so I don't think they're going to, approach this Chris Jones thing any differently than they approached that. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
So I like what both of you guys said. Game wrecker, the guy. I mean, this is like a win now move if you bring in Chris Jones, because he is that kind of player. My problem is going back to that Tyreek Stevenson trade, or not Tyreek Hill trade. Sorry, my bad. Herb and I are both getting the two guys mixed up.
Right.
So my thing is that the trade that went down between the Chiefs and the Dolphins was a 2022 first round pick, a second round pick, a fourth round pick, plus a 4th and a 6th round pick this last year. So you gave up, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks. You gave up 1 first rounder. Jones is in that same type of conversation of impact type player in the league. So you got to give up a first at least for him. You know, that's kind of just how the Chiefs would do it. So that's number 1 for me. Ryan Poles likes his first round picks. He likes it.
I thought Will gave a sweet deal too. Like I thought Will gave a sweet deal too.
Will's deal is great. But Kansas City, guess where Ryan Poles comes from? Kansas City. Where did he learn to be a GM like that? Kansas City. So it's like 2 Titans going at it for cheap picks or good trades for the franchise.
Right.
So yes,
they
it
both want to
impacts
win
the
the trade.
Oh, yeah.
They want to win the trade. Everyone wants to win the trade. What was that, Will?
I said, what did Miami give up for Tyreek?
A first, a second, a fourth, a fifth, and another fourth. So they gave up 2 early picks and then later picks, which is fine, but it's still a lot of draft capital for the Chiefs. Right. Guess where they went to? Kansas City. Where did Ryan Poles come from? Kansas City. What does he do? Right. Gets lots of picks. My other problem is you got to pay Justin Fields in 2 years if he works out. If he works out, you're going to have to pay him big money. I'm talking $35 million plus a season. You're going to tell me you're going to pay a defensive tackle that much? No, that's quarterback money. DJ Moore, he's going to have to get paid in 3 years. Chase Claypool, he works out. You got to pay him in a couple years. I'm bringing it back. Like, I would love the guy right now, but I don't want a Ryan Pace cap issue that he had with Khalil Mack because that killed the franchise for years. So I'm not meaning to rain on anyone's parade. I'm with you guys. Would love Chris Jones to be a Chicago Bear because that's a win now move. After next year, though, you got Jalen Johnson, like Will is saying. You got Chase Claypool. You got Darnell Mooney.
Right.
You have a lot of guys that you need to re-sign. And sure, you have Edmunds, you have Edwards, but you only have Edwards on a 2-year deal. So you got a lot. And then, you know, Tyreek Stevenson's contract eventually going to go up. Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, they only got 3 years left too. In 3 years, you got to pay a ton of your core. So I like the move. But Will, your guy from Florida State, bring him in on a first-round pick. He could have just as much of an impact over time. So I like – you guys have great deals, but I'm trying to just say – I'm just saying, I think in future tense, can't take him. Can't take him. What do you guys think?
Jared Verse, like, let's be like, okay, if the Bears have the season we predicting, we will be in no position to get Jared Verse in the first round. Now, if the Panthers
pick,
but if the Panthers, because like I said, this year we're gonna watch the Bears and we're watching the Panthers. We got to watch 2 teams this year.
0-17.
We see them on Thursday Night Football.
They go 0-17. Now we in a position. Hold up, we gonna trade because everybody want Caleb Williams, everybody want Drake May. So we're gonna be in a position now to get another boatload. And I'm gonna be honest, y'all see what's going on in Arizona. They are Arizona already
fire sale.
They already having a fire like Isaiah Simmons for us.
Oh, did you lose Will?
Like, what?
We got there.
I'm like, are you serious? Like they already showing you we ain't playing. If you go to their media page, they got an image of a tank already letting you know they tanking. You know what I'm saying? So as far as I'm concerned, look, Chris, we ain't gonna give him no $35 million. Like, you can ask for $100 million at the end of the day. Now, I would say he deserves it in the range of about 24, 25, somewhere around there. But I'm cool with that. I would give him that.
That's a couple guys. You pay a couple guys with that money. You pay 3 role guys, $8 million each.
But again, just like we did with the Tremaine Edmunds deal, we front loaded that deal. All his guaranteed money is front, so it won't impact. We got the cash now, and realistically, I'm gonna be honest. If I got to say, hey, Cody, I need you to take a pay cut because you ain't worth $14 million. If we got to do some adjustments on our end to fit him in, which we got the available cap space, like, I'm going to say, hey, Cody, because Cody already got his roster bonus, right?
I believe he already got his roster bonus. He's still owed $9 million this year.
So if we got to convert that to a
signing bonus, another signing bonus.
Like, I don't think. Well, we are talking about the McCaskies here, so I don't know. I can't go.
Listen,
I can't go on a limb. But
they got enough money to move around. To me, Will, the question is that move is we ready to win the championship right now? We Super Bowl ready right now.
But
I don't know that we are though. I don't know that we are.
Herb, why not?
Because
look at our schedule. Look at the NFC.
Will, we just saw a week that took us down to our 9th offensive lineman.
Yeah, that's
You're
true.
not going to the Super Bowl like that, bro. You're just not. Like, you're just not. We had
your wide receivers are down.
They out there with Larry Borum. And listen, Jatari Carter's had a great summer, but you out there with Larry Borum, Jatari Carter, Doug Kramer, like this, and Alex Leatherwood, like this ain't what you want. Like, you know what I mean? So like I just don't know that they are quite ready. If we were one player away,
right,
bet the house on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't think we one player away. I just don't think that they're one player away right
I'm
now.
tired of one season success as a Chicago Bears fan. But this is the move that would do that. I mean, we would have immense success with the third easiest schedule. But man, I want it so bad too, man. I just want to be like, yes.
Right,
but what if you write about the kids though, Will? What if they write about one of these kids? What if Javon or Zach is that dude?
And then we got and look, and then we got a line like the Eagles. The Eagles had how many front, like 7, 8 last year that had contributed to 70 sacks?
They wouldn't have got that dude, didn't they?
We ain't got that at all.
But they went out and got Robert Quinn, and look what he did. He did nothing for him. We won that trade.
But look, Robert Quinn, like y'all know
Robert Quinn, man.
Quinn do 18 sacks, then he gonna do 2. It depends on
the
year.
Wait, Herb, what were you saying about Robert Quinn? I'm sorry.
Rob was in the news a couple of days ago. He did some wild stuff, man, which kind of
man, he hit like 5 cars, and man, look,
bad situation.
I hate that for Will. That's terrible to hear, man. I hope everybody's all right, and they got an assault charge in there too. But that surprised me. He was just one of the chillest dudes I ever met, like, and that kind of caught me off guard.
Well, I can tell you this: somebody about to get a silver suit and get paid. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's real.
So let's bring it back, guys. That was a great conversation about Chris Jones. I want to hear everyone in the comments about that one, because I think that's every angle you can look at the situation from. Either you bet the house on it, or you're thinking long-term, how much is this going to hurt or potentially hurt? And you know what? I think this roster is doing great. Let's go to the secondary before we close out, guys, because we've hit on everybody. We told everybody the defensive line's great. We told everybody the linebackers are great. But this secondary is what's going to put this defense, in my opinion, over the top. You have your oldest starter is 29 years old, and Eddie Jackson, an all-pro, a 2-time Pro Bowler. Herb, out of this defense, I mean, the depth, you have a ton of depth guys in the secondary. How many interceptions are we going for this year?
Listen, I don't know about how many interceptions. I'll try to put a number on it in a minute, but I'll tell you what, Kyler Gordon's going to have a monster season.
Spider-Man.
Like an absolute monster season at nickel. He's built to play that spot. He's got all the quick twitch ability. He's got great instincts. He's got the physicality. He doesn't mind sticking his nose in there. He wants to punch it out. He can cover. He can come off the edge and blitz. He like taking that dual responsibility away from him in terms of outside and then inside and switching back and forth. There were just times last year as a rookie where he's trying to, understand both of these positions. And you can clearly see on a couple of those plays, and he probably wouldn't admit it, and the coaches wouldn't admit it either, because that would be on them. But you can see a couple of times on tape where he got beat in the slot because he was going off his outside routes. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Oh, I got help in there." No, sir, you are in there. Like that's you. Like you gotta carry him. You know what I mean? Right. And so like taking up, and not to say he wouldn't have been better at that this year. I'm sure he would have been. He got better at it as the year went along last year. But just putting him in that one spot where he can just focus on that, he's going to have a monster. He's having a great camp. But all of those guys together, Jalen Johnson, Bojack, I love Jaquan. I think Jaquan is going to develop into a perennial Pro Bowl performer. If Tyreek Stevenson is who they hope he can be, this secondary could be scary. Now I'm talking about scary for real. Now I'm talking about scary for real. Like those two safeties, that they could be as good of a pair of safeties as any team has in this league. Like Jaquan is that good, and we know what Bojack can be as long as he's on the field and healthy. When he was healthy on the field last year, he was balling on the way to another one of those Pro Bowl type years. And so he's talking about having an all-time season for a safety. We'll see what that means, what that looks like. But I'm a big Jalen Johnson guy. I like what he brings to the table. And so, Jalen Johnson doesn't gamble all that much. He doesn't get picked on all that much either. So his ball production kind of suffers for it. So I wouldn't suspect he would have more than 2 picks, maybe 3. Tyreek Stevenson's going to have about 6. He may have like 6, right?
Yes.
Because he's jumping everything. He's also going to get his young ass cooked, right? Because he gonna have his ass in the backfield. He's going to be susceptible to a couple double moves. He's going to get beat on that a couple times. That's just the reality with him.
Right.
I hope he doesn't cost us with the extracurriculars. He got a little bit of an attitude, and he might cost us a couple 15-yarders here and there. But he's also going to jump those routes. He may get his hands on about 5 or 6 balls. Then Kyler, he may get 5 or 6 in the middle of that thing too. Bojack may get 4 or 5. Jaquan might get you another 2 or 3. So you got 5, 5, 5, 15, 4, 4. So they might get like 19, 20 picks just on the back end. Like them 5 dudes might get you 19, 20 picks for real. Like they got a nasty secondary. And if you can get the production that y'all was talking about earlier out of that front 4 and kind of speed up that quarterback a little bit, get that ball out there even a little bit faster. You got those 2 instinctive linebackers who can read and react and deflect balls. Those are going to turn into some of those tip ball interceptions. Listen, this defense could really be, what Bears defenses are known for, and that's taking that ball away.
It's music to my ears, man.
Yes.
This is what we're talking about. You
see the difference though with Tyreek Stevenson when he played man press versus that zone. He a dog in man. Like we haven't had probably since Peanut like a corner that can actually get up in a wide receiver chest and man up. Because Jalen, he's more of a zone guy. You know what I'm saying? And he can match up.
Jalen traveled a lot last year though. Don't shortchange Jalen. He traveled a lot last year.
Yeah.
That Eagles game still in my head ringing. With
you know what's crazy about that Eagles game? Jalen Johnson balled in that Eagles game.
He did.
Like as I watched it live, and I'm like, he's balling. And then stat sheet, like he had a $180. Like and he had the big plays, right? So you understood that. So I was like, was I tweaking? I watched that game about 5 or 6 times. Like I went back and watched that game like 5 or 6 times just to see if Jalen had the game I thought he had. He absolutely did. He balled in that game. Like he truly, that was one of his better games. Like I know that's hard to reconcile in your brain when you say that was one of his better games and the dude he was covering had a $180. But Jalen was balling. He just hit a couple big plays, and it happens like that sometimes.
And believe it or not, if you watch that game, Justin, and I know it's off track, he outplayed Hurts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, it was a tough game. The weather was, I think the weather was terrible that game. If I recall, I know the Buffalo game was worse, but the weather was terrible. And I mean, Jalen was the only, but like you were saying, Herb, Jalen was the only guy getting cooked because that was all they could do. I mean, there was nothing else. And if you throw the ball towards him 20, 30 times, 180 yards actually isn't terrible because that shows that it's every couple plays. And if it was a different situation, he had more help. Those guys would have done nothing against him. So I'm a Jalen Johnson guy too. Will knows that. I hope that they bring him back because he's got that chip on his shoulder. He just has to stay healthy. I mean, that's kind of the thing for everybody, but he just has to stay healthy because he's such an impact guy. So I'm excited.
Hey, see, y'all
what's going on?
Both of y'all Jalen Johnson guys, but it's a young rookie from Minnesota that's looking kind of good by the name of Terrell Smith. So I'm just look. He's a depth piece. He's a depth piece, and also we can say rest in peace, Kendall Vildor, because I don't foresee you sticking to the 53-man.
Yeah, he gone. He out of there.
He's known it too. Herb, I was at camp on one of the only Saturday camps that was open, and I was there, and he was moping around. Like you could just tell he's like, what's up? Sorry, Herb, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was agreeing with you. I said just Kendall know what's up. He can read the writing on the wall. He know what's up. He know he out of here. But also that it's as much to do with those kids. You talk about Tyreek and Terrell, as much to do with them. It's also about Jalen Jones and Josh Blackwell too. Right? Because of what they bring, the special teams value, and the way they performed when they had the opportunities last year. So I like both of those dudes too. And it's just at this point we know what Kendall Vildor is. That's not to knock him or anything like that, but we know what he is. We know what he is not, and these other guys just have a little bit more potential. So I'd be surprised if come Tuesday afternoon Kendall is still here.
I
probably Sunday afternoon.
Sunday. I was about to say Sunday afternoon.
I got some fishing poles in the garage for him. Tell him to give me a call, Herb.
He'll be in the league. Somebody pick him up, man. He's a valuable piece somewhere, just not here no more. The secondary is a little bit deeper than he can go.
And then we got Herb. Go ahead, Nick.
No, so Will, we're closing out because we're at 40 minutes. We're at time, and Herb, we appreciate you coming on, man. But we got to ask you the last question of the night. What are you ranking this defense in the NFL next year overall? Where are they landing?
All right, let me just throw this caveat out there. This is a lot predicated on health, right? If they're healthy, right, front to back, if they're healthy, I will put the ceiling somewhere around 10. I think this could be a top 10 type of defense if they're healthy. If they can get 15 games from the majority of their starters, 15, 16 games from the majority of their starters, then I think that this could legitimately be a top 10 defense. And shout out to y'all, man, because y'all was one of the only people that was calling the D-line decent when everybody was like, this D-line is trash. Like that, there's nothing here. There's nothing.
Nice job, Will.
and they've shown themselves to be better. And then you obviously bring in Ngakoue, who is another one of those multipliers like we're talking about. And so now you're not saying, oh, DeMarcus Walker's outside. You're like, no, DeMarcus Walker, just go over there, do your thing. We got another stud over here, right? And so and the kids have developed and all those types of things. And so this defensive line, Terrell Lewis has come on and shown what he can be. So, throughout the course of this camp, that defensive line has shown themselves to be much better than we thought they would be in the spring. So if they're healthy, and all those guys are able to, be better than the sum of their parts on the defensive line, we know what that linebacking core is. We talked a lot about Tremaine Edmunds, but TJ is a dog too. Like TJ is a really, really good player. Great, like very, very smart, cerebral linebacker that can understand what's going on, read and diagnose. And then we talked about the secondary a whole lot. So if they're healthy and on the field together and develop that chemistry, I don't see why they couldn't potentially, creep up on that top 10 defense.
Well,
yes, sir.
Everyone's jumping on, man. Herb, I know you've been jumping on, man. I've been following you on Twitter for a while, man. So I was so pumped to have you come on tonight. And Will, thanks for making it happen. But why not the Bears, man? The monsters of the Midway are back. And I am so pumped about it. I got to ask one follow-up, and we can make it quick. Talking about guys that are getting cut. Is Travis Gibson staying or going?
Hey, that's what I was about to ask Herb earlier. That's what I was going to ask him.
You told me to make it quick. I want to follow what you said on the show.
You got to make it quick.
Yes, Travis stays.
Okay,
Travis stays.
Yes.
Maybe Rasheem Green.
Terrell Lewis. Does Terrell? Oh, Rasheem Green.
Hey, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking
of the three. Of the three, we talking about Gibson, Lewis, and Green. Lewis is first. Lewis is making the team.
Absolutely.
He looks unreal. He looks like Robert Quinn, by the way.
Come on. Alabama, baby. I told them.
I think they still like a lot what they see about Dominique Robinson, so I don't think he's going anywhere. So I think you start to get to a situation where you're talking about Gip and Green, and I just like Gip a lot. I just like him. I just like Gip. So I hope he stays, but he is definitely at risk. Let's
it's gonna be a battle.
Yeah.
Man, it's gonna be crazy. But yes, Herb, thank you, sir, for coming on. I'm gonna ask you to stay on for just a minute to hang out after, but I'm gonna end the recording. But thank you for coming on, man. And where can everyone find you?
My pleasure. Gotta do it again soon. Yeah, you can follow me at Herb Howard 411. You can follow my work at It's the Bigs on Twitter. It's the Bigs. And so, man, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And Will, great seeing you as always too, man. We'll chat after. But with that, folks, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. The Bears are back, baby, whether you like it or not. But with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody, joined alongside Will, Wright, and Herb, and we'll see you guys next time.